public charter schools in the implementation of healthy schools programming. A defining feature of this grant program is a focus on the whole school, whole community, whole child model. This nationally recognized framework from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is a guiding framework for addressing health in schools. This calls for greater alignment, integration, and collaboration between education and health sectors to ensure that students who are represented in the center of this model are healthy, safe, engaged, supported, and challenged. This requires coordination and support from community partners in being able to think through and strategically align with our schools all of these great health and well-being components that occur within a school building. So specifically, I want to draw your attention to the white inner ring, which is sometimes called the coordination ring. This is all about incorporating policy, process, and practice change. These are the actions that take place at the organizational or systems level within the school as a key implementation driver of healthy programs and services. So we are postulating through this grant that it is through the delivery of high quality healthy schools programming plus a focus on policy, process, and practice change that is inherent to the WISC model that will yield the best results in terms of high quality programming and long-term sustainability of health programming in schools. Therefore, strong proposals for the Healthy Schools Grant will address how the provided programs and services will be delivered in a way that has an eye towards coordination. So it thinks through and considers how that CBO with its school will embed and operationalize these health programs through policy, process, and practice change. This is a very key feature to the grant and one that we are really excited about, as we believe that a focused attention on this approach will help to elevate programs in schools, ensure that they are well embedded and aligned with other priorities and activities within the school building, and have the longest likelihood of sustaining within that school community. The initial grant period for this grant is the date of the award to September 30th, 2024. This will be fiscal year 2024. OSCE plans to make awards available beginning February 1st, 2024. Funding after the initial award period is contingent upon available funding. And the anticipated total award period then will be no more than 2 fiscal years. Phase 1 will be February 1 through September 30th, 2024, while Phase 2 spans from October 1, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. Applicants must reapply for second year funding, and continuation of awards for Phase 2 are contingent upon a number of provisions that are outlined in the RFA. This includes availability of funds, the implementation and operation of the program as was described in the application, demonstration of progress towards meeting program objectives, compliance with all laws, regulations, and guidance, and appropriate expenditure of funds throughout the grant period. Please note that Phase 1 and Phase 2 is not to denote a planning year followed by an implementation year. A strong proposal will have program activities implemented in Phase 1 as well as in Phase 2. The Healthy Schools Grant funds are made available solely through the Healthy Schools Act of 2010 as amended. The total amount of available funds for the initial grant period for fiscal year 24 is a total of $500,000. Each awarded organization is expected to receive anywhere from $50,000 to $125,000 for the initial grant period, or FY24. We've estimated that we will award between 3 and 8 awards for this RFA, but that is pending funding availability. Determinations regarding the number of awards will be based on the quality and number of applications received and the total available funding. Successful applicants may be awarded amounts less than requested. For applications that include multiple organizations, one organization must be designated to submit and manage the grant. Interested applicants will submit a budget for the Phase 1 grant period, February 1 to September 30th, 2024, and applicants must use allocated funding outlined in their budget timeline each fiscal year, as funding cannot be rolled over to the next grant period or funding will lapse. Eligibility. So OSSE will accept applications from community-based organizations. We define eligible CBOs as those that demonstrate expertise and success working with DC public and public charter schools in one or more of our Healthy Schools program areas. Again, that includes PE, health education, physical activity, nutrition education, environmental education, garden-based education, and farm-to-school programs. CBO eligibility, expertise, and success working with schools will be evaluated in the review process. OSSE will accept one application per CBO. However, a lead organization may contract with other organizations that can provide services in another program area to expand reach. Contracted organizations can only appear on one application. General requirements. So these are the requirements of all proposals for this grant, regardless of what program area you may choose to dive into with your activities. The largest general requirement is that CBOs will partner with a minimum of 5 DC public and public charter schools. CBOs are to identify their own school partners. CBOs must also include in their application a minimum of 5 letters of commitment, one from each school that the CBO plans to use as partners. These can be new partners for the purpose of this grant or schools that you have been in partnership with for any period of time. A template for this partnership letter is available in the RFA as Attachment A. This must be signed by the school principal or other authorizing representative. And these are required to be uploaded in EGMS along with the application. So these letters of commitment are due at the same time as all other application components. Interested CBOs may propose to work with more than 5 schools and should submit a plan that reflects how they will manage the number of proposed schools and a budget that matches their intended activities. So additional general requirements, these are to be conducted in each school. So there are a number of steps that CBOs will work in partnership with schools to implement. The first being to conduct a small needs assessment to include facilitating focus groups with key school stakeholders. These focus groups should identify implementation and evaluation barriers and opportunities. This needs assessment can leverage existing data and information available at the schools and should help to drive the programs that are implemented in each respective school. So from there, the needs assessment findings are used to develop program area specific strategies to increase the school's capacity to support the implementation of healthy schools programming. Here, the CBOs will use a data-driven approach and pinpoint a few key strategies that will be implemented in partnership with the school to bring that programming to life in the school. That will lead to the development of a Healthy Schools implementation plan, which will outline the key program strategies as well as those WISC coordination strategies, meaning what will happen at the policy, process, and practice change level. CBOs will actively partner with the schools to ensure the plan is integrated within an existing school plan or framework. This Healthy Schools implementation plan serves as the roadmap for the program implementation in the school and is a document for buy-in with all key stakeholders and outlines the activities that will take place to meet the goals set forth by the program. Guided by this implementation plan, the CBO and the school will pilot strategies, which may include activities such as capacity building supports, such as training, technical assistance, consultation, and coaching, which is provided to schools and to their staff members. It could be participation in school level planning and coordination activities, such as teaming, data monitoring, and other related systems change activities. Or third, it could be direct provision of student-facing services delivered in partnership with school staff, such as running programs, extracurriculars, implementing a curricula, anything in which the student is receiving the program activity. And additional requirements include monitoring and evaluating the outputs and outcomes as described in the logic model. In a few slides, we'll get to discussing the logic model and what should be included in it. It's important to note that at least one outcome must evaluate changes in each school's capacity to coordinate policy, process, and practice in the delivery of school health programs and services. CBOs will also work with schools to develop an individualized sustainability plan to support the school in continuing and enhancing or scaling, if appropriate, the programming after the grant award period ends. CBOs will be required to submit regular reports to OSSI, and there will also be quarterly grantee meetings facilitated by OSSI that grantees will be required to attend and to participate in. The general requirements discussed on the last two slides apply to all programs, regardless of topic area. In the RFA, we have grouped the program areas and provided some additional information to support applicants in building high-quality proposals in the respective topic areas. Again, here are the program areas just to see how we've grouped them. You'll hear now from some of our OSSI program specialists about OSSI's approach to these topics. First, I will hand it over to Nigel Henley to introduce himself and talk a bit about OSSI's vision for health education and PE.
All right, let me unmute myself. Good morning, everyone. As Rachel shared, my name is Nigel Henley. I am the Health and Physical Education Specialist here in the Division of Health and Wellness. I just want to talk briefly about health education, and physical activity. And so I'll start by saying that the Healthy Schools Grant funds can be used to support schools and their ability to implement high quality health education, physical activity, and nutrition programming that is WISC aligned and reflects the knowledge, skills, and abilities that students need to be lifelong advocates and enthusiasts of a healthy lifestyle, and that students have a solid footing for decision-making and advocacy around their own health needs. And this includes understanding the importance of physical activity, living a physically fit lifestyle, and making the appropriate choices around nutrition. OSSI promotes clear and comprehensive and age-appropriate health and physical education through the development and implementation of standards and best practices that are essential to the health and well-being of every student from pre-K through high school exit. These standards include the 2016 Health Education Standards and the 2017 Physical Education Standards. Through Healthy Schools Grant funds, and should you decide to support schools in health and physical education, CBOs will be expected to develop a Healthy Schools implementation plan for each school that includes foundational strategies for delivering high quality, comprehensive health education and PE, addresses the challenges with space, scheduling, and staff capacity, should schools find that adherence to health education and physical education requirements, should they find that those are barriers, we would expect that the implementation plan devises a way in which to support schools in those with those challenges. It should also include strategies to support students with disabilities in accessing high quality health and physical education. And it should include efforts to incorporate opportunities for adults that can be staff as well for their own physical activity and education into programming. So with that said, I think I'm going to pass it back to Rachel and to our next presenter, which I see might be Grace.
Please take it away, Grace. Thank you, Nigel. Advance the slides.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Grace Manubay. I'm the Environmental Literacy Coordinator at OSSI. I work on the same team with Nigel and Rachel, and I closely work with Sam Ullery, who's on another team within our division. I wanted to introduce the Environmental Literacy Program at OSSI, which is guided by the DC Environmental Literacy Plan. We provide students and teachers with resources to engage students and experiences that support implementation of standards, and those could be the next generation science standards, it could be the newly adopted social studies standards, it could be early learning standards, or however you choose to engage any of the appropriate standards that are approved by the State Board of Education in instruction and experiences. We like to include and incorporate real world experiences into learning. And so that could be using our local environment that students can experience, whether it's on their school grounds nearby that they can walk to, or a field experience somewhere within the city or the neighborhood or the neighboring surrounding area in Maryland or Virginia that can connect what they're living in, the place that they're living, with what they're learning. So to make it more real, more phenomena-based, and also encourage student engagement in the outdoors. And so again, emphasizing how your local experience, where you live, and the actions that you take can impact the greater community. Sam, I'll toss it to you.
Thanks, Grace. Hi, everybody. My name is Sam Ullery. I'm the school gardens specialist at OSSI. And like Grace and Nigel said, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you all for joining. So the OSSI School Gardens program is really all about engaging students in garden-based learning. And the way that, that we do this in a lot of different ways. One of them is through supporting educators and teachers to feel more comfortable and have the skills that are, required for really having meaningful opportunities for students outdoors or in greenhouses for having really great garden-based education. So we see these school gardens as really tools to supplement what is happening in the classrooms and hope that we can give students those experiences, those hands-on experiences, getting their hands dirty in the gardens. That's it from me. Rachel, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. So again, our CBOs may elect any option to focus on as a broad topic area. And then in working with your 5 or more partnered schools, you will be developing that Healthy Schools implementation plan that strategically operationalizes and details how you will bring the vision for this program specific area to life for that school. And it will name the tactical strategies and capacity building supports that are provided to that specific school based on the findings of the needs assessment and the specific considerations for that school. And of course, everything that is implemented as a program should also be introduced to the school with a consideration for the supporting policy, process, and practice change that will need to happen in order to help that program become systematized within the school and to help maximize its effectiveness because it is better aligned and integrated with other existing efforts that can maximize its reach or ensure its sustainability over time. So thank you to our specialists for details on those areas. For more information on the general requirements, please reference the RFA for details. Moving to the use of funds, funds may be used to complete deliverables as described on the last few slides and in the program requirements section of the RFA. Funds may be used for purchases including stipends to cover replacement staff time and to supplement time covered outside of normal working hours, program materials and supplies, professional and contracted services, and for the purchase of food. Please note that no more than 10% of the project can be used for purchasing food, with some exceptions being food being used for demonstration or educational purposes, food provided as snacks at grant-related trainings or meetings, and food purchased with prior authorization from OSSI. All food purchased with grant funds must meet nutrition standards, and you can find those in the RFA. Those are the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program, meal pattern guidelines, and the Smart Snacks in School standards. Things that funds may not be used for include travel expenses beyond just going to and from schools or OSSI mandated trainings. There are some directions in the RFA if you are a CBO from 50 miles or more outside of the District of Columbia and what is permissible for travel there. But please reference the RFA for details on the appropriate expenses around travel. Funds may not be used for equipment and other valuable electronics that are not a part of the program activities and cannot be used for property construction or renovation. If a CBO has an approved indirect cost rate from the federal government and provides a letter to OSSI with the current approved rate from another federal agency, it may use that rate. If not, the de minimis rate is 10% of all direct costs under the grant. Right, and now we will move towards the application and what that process looks like. The program proposal requirements are outlined in great detail in the RFA. I will walk through them at a high level here. One thing to please reference is the section character limits in EGMS. We have set very generous character limits for each section in EGMS where you will copy and paste your text. But please note, that you may want to plan accordingly for how long each section can be. First, a program proposal should include an abstract. This should be a clear, accurate, and concise summary of your project. The RFA states that it should include the organization's name, its location, and the program manager's name. That abstract may be used publicly to promote the activities that you are doing. Oh, they're not advancing. I'm seeing this. Are we seeing the program proposal requirements slide right now?
No, we see the funds available slide.
You see the funds available slide.
It could be me. I'm sorry.
I'm seeing some yeses in the chat.
Rachel, I can see program proposal requirements.
Okay, thank you, Grace.
Okay. It could be me. I'll restart. Thank you. Sorry.
You may have the ability to toggle between slides, and you may be able to catch up. We are on slide 23.
Okay, yeah, I see slide 12. I'll restart.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. Next component is the logic model. We have provided a template as attachment B in the RFA. It is also available for download on our Healthy Schools Grant webpage. This link should take you right to the direct download, which will open as a Word document. This particular template is a required element and will be scored. The logic model, like any other template that for logic models, will include the purpose, the target audience, key program assumptions, inputs, activities, external factors, measurement considerations, and outputs and outcomes. So we request both phase 1 and phase 2 outcomes associated in this logic model. So again, please reference the template. This is a required component that will be uploaded in EGMS with your application. Finally, we have multiple sections within the program plan, and I will go through those at a high level right now. First, applicants will describe how they have recruited their 5 or more schools. It will also discuss the steps taken in the needs assessment process, including the use of any needs assessment tools, sources of data, or other resources that you plan to use that will gather information from the schools to assist with program planning. The second section will describe your organization's approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. This section will also outline how your proposed program will serve the intended population, the students served by the school and their staff. The plan should also delineate how you will meet the needs of populations that are systematically underrepresented and how the program will be equitable and inclusive. Third, you will provide an implementation plan. This will include details of much of what will be in your logic model, but presented in narrative form and with additional details. First, this will include SMART goals. It will also include an implementation timeline. It will include an organizational management plan describing the resources of your organization and how the plan will be managed. It will include estimates of the number of program participants served, the resources and funding required to implement your plan, and your current level of resources and assets, and how you'll financially support the first 3 months of your program. And again, all of this is outlined in detail in the RFA. Fourth, you'll describe how you will work with each partner school to develop a realistic sustainability plan. The RFA includes a link to a website resource about sustainability planning, should this be a new area for you. We would like to know the steps that you'll take to engage each school in thinking through plans for sustainability. Fifth will be a description of how you will evaluate and monitor the program activities. A reminder that at least one outcome must evaluate changes in school capacity, meaning their ability to coordinate the policy, process, and practice change in the delivery of healthy schools programming. Sixth, please describe collaboration with partners and stakeholders. If you have any existing memoranda of understanding or agreement, those can be discussed and provided in the application if those are partners that will be used to fulfill the goals of the grant. Seventh, provide a summary of qualifications of the organization and your program staff. In particular, please share your experience providing capacity building services to schools and coordinating student-facing services in schools. Finally, please provide a budget and budget narrative detailing the proposed costs and providing justification of the expenses. These are all elements that will be entered into EGMS. When you log into EGMS for this application, you will find multiple tabs pertaining to these subsections where you will be able to enter a text box with your narrative and, where needed, provide the supporting upload documentation for the logic model, your 5 or more school upload letters, and other key documents. EGMS is OSSE's system to manage and administer grants. All applicants will need to register in EGMS as a one-time event. If you have previously worked or applied for a grant within EGMS, your registration should be all set, but please do try to log in and make sure you have the appropriate credentials. Otherwise, registering is easy, and there are instructions on the EGMS website to support new users in getting started with a profile. OSSE's help desk is available for you to reach out to should you have any technical difficulties accessing EGMS or getting started as a new user in the system. Very important that applications are due no later than 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. They will be time-stamped and reported upon receipt through the system. These, of course, must be submitted through the EGMS system and through no other mechanism, meaning emailed or faxed applications will not be accepted. Late submissions will not be accepted and extensions will not be granted unless there is a systemic issue or outage facing all users. Upon submitting an application, please note that you're unable to reopen or revise the application. It is locked for submission and it is with OSSE for reviews and scoring. Again, I have some resources listed here so that you can navigate EGMS if you are a first-time or a returning user. So in order to fulfill all the requirements to have a successful application, you will have 3 key things. The first is that you will have obtained and be able to get into EGMS. So you'll have the appropriate login credentials. And note that this can take up to 3 days to process or register if you are a new user. So please provide yourself ample time to get the credentials needed to access the system so that you can successfully submit an application. The second is that all required components of the application are completed. So everything as described in the program proposal, including the abstract, the logic model, all narrative components, and it must include the minimum of the 5 letters of commitment from the partner schools. And 3, Of course, this must all be submitted in all of its components by or before the deadline. Again, keeping in mind that the applicant may not amend the application once it has been transmitted to OSSI. From there, once OSSI receives the application, we will screen them internally by OSSI staff for all required components. If they meet all of the eligibility requirements, the application is then turned over to an external review panel who will be trained in the use of a scoring rubric and will provide scores of each application. Our OSSI staff receives the recommendations of the review panel, and we consider all relevant information and assess the extent to which we will issue awards for each application. And then OSSI will determine which applicants to fund as well as the funding amount. We can award up to the requested amount, or it may be less than the amount requested. There is an application scoring rubric included as attachment C in the RFA. That is the tool that our external review panel will be using as it appraises each application received. Here you can see the total points available for each component of the application. The total points sum to 100. You'll see that the largest components are the logic model at 16 points, the implementation plan at 22 points. But this will give you an idea of how we will be evaluating each of the received applications. Applications will be strong if they meet all criteria in the RFA. So the RFA section 2.1 really outlines each of these components that I went through on the previous slide, and applicants that are able to fully and completely respond to those prompts are more likely to receive a favorable score on their application. And the state has been shared before, but I will share it again. Of course, OSSI anticipates to issue the award on February 1st, 2024 for the initial award period ending September 30th, 2024. Awarded applicants will receive a GAN or a grant award notice that will include the award amount, the award agreement with OSSI, the terms and conditions, and any supplemental information required. At this point, I'm going to open it up for Q&A. I'm going to begin by looking through the chat to see if anything was submitted so far during our presentation. I am not seeing any questions in the chat, so I will open it up. Feel free to come off mute if you have a question or add it to the chat. I see a question from Beatrice. Will this be a reimbursable grant? I will look to our OSSI specialists on the line. I believe that these are. Is someone able to confirm that that is the way in which OSSI grants are structured? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Grace. Yes, and that is why we've asked for explanation as to how your organization will plan the first 3 months of expenses, projecting that reimbursement takes place after the fact. Taylor, I see your hand raised.
Greetings, good morning. Thanks for this really great plan you've put forward, Rachel. My question, one of which is, are there any specific goals in terms of academic performance improvements or mental health related benefits that you are anticipating as outcomes for this program, or are they set out somewhere else in in a wellness plan or something?
That's a great question, Taylor. Thank you. This RFA does not explicitly name any targets or metrics for academic performance or student mental health outcomes. Those can be included in your program logic model should you want to include them as your long-term goals, but those are left to each individual organization in developing your plan and what you think your SMART goals are, but those have not been set forth by OSSI. We leave those to you to develop.
Okay, can I ask one more?
Sure.
Would a project group, a 5-school group, be able to be part of a similar program, or can we use additional funding or support, or no? Is this a self-contained grant, probably? If that's clear.
That is, I believe I'm clear on your question, but I may need more information as to what you're discussing, whether this is something that is, if this is something that's currently funded that you're doing separately, and whether this is going to be funding the same thing that schools are a part of. Should you write that up in detail, I can check that with our
all right. Thanks very much.
Some people internally, and that will become part of the Q&A record for today. Others may have similar questions about that, so I'll be sure to get a proper answer in writing.
Thanks.
I see a question in the chat about the needs assessment. There is no template for the needs assessment. We do require that there be focus groups. The manner in which those are conducted are left to the CBO to develop. We at OSSI are also available for our for consultation and technical assistance. So once awarded grantees are implementing programs, we may be able to provide resources to grantees to support them in program implementation. But really that is left for CBOs to design at this stage, with the requirement being that focus groups be one of the needs assessment components. And I see the question, can funds be used to support transportation for field trips? Funds may be used to meet the deliverables of the program. If the program proposed involves field trips, that would be an allowable programmatic expense.
Oh, you're in the, yeah, I got it.
Are there any other questions? See the question, can you please expand on the requirement of one outcome focusing on the school's capacity to coordinate policy, process, and practice in the delivery of school health programs/services? Is there an example of this? Great question. A great resource to monitor capacity changes in school health program delivery is the Centers for Disease Controls and Prevention's School Health Index, or SHI. That is a very comprehensive tool with a number of modules, all WISC aligned, and those really focus on changes at the school and systems level to support school health programming. That may provide you with ideas for a metric that could be self-reported, perhaps by a school team or in a staff survey. But I would certainly recommend that as an initial resource to access if you'd like ideas for how to monitor changes related to WISC implementation. I see the question, would you consider the focus of the grant to be hands-on direct service or implementation based? If I could get a little bit more clarity on what that question's asking, that would be great, Ashanti. Feel free to come off mute if that's easier. I can try to answer this question. I think this grant is a both and. The goal of the Healthy Schools Grant is to provide high quality programming in the program areas that are set forth in the RFA. We know that district students are in need of additional high quality opportunities for physical activity and health education and environmental education and all of these opportunities. So certainly we want to be delivering on programs that provide a student outcome. But then there is this WISC focus overlaid with the program delivery. So thinking about how it's not just providing direct services in schools, but doing it in a way that considers the school community and thinking about how this program is embedded within existing programs and curricula and activities so that it has greater effectiveness and chance for sustainability. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Ashanti. Taylor, go ahead.
One more thing, the WISC approach is looks like it's key here. Is the CDC Healthy Schools branch, are they involved in any way in this project, or are they aware of it? Just out of curiosity, if they're not.
No, this is a grant just put forth by OSSI and using funds from the Healthy Schools Act of 2010.
Got it. Thanks.
Well, should you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out. My email is on the screen. We will make this recording available by November 16th. And we will be entering the pre-application question phase where please send me anything you may have, and we will publish those responses on our website by December 6th. Thank you so much for your interest and your time today. I will let people leave as you can all go about your day, but I'm going to hang out here and keep the recording going in case there are any last minute arrivals or questions that you may have. But thank you so much for your participation today and look forward to receiving your applications.